For more, we're joined by the former defense minister of Georgia, Khidasheli, in Paris for that defense and security conference taking place. Thank you for being with us here on France.
Thank you for having me here.
Your reaction to the day's news. We have this meeting, 30 chiefs of staff, not the United States in the room.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but at the same time, let's look at it as an opportunity for Europe to increase its capabilities, to strengthen its capabilities, to understand how much tied up Europe is together with the UK, regardless of Brexit. And I believe that US will come back to the board eventually.
So this is just a passing storm?
Let's hope so.
Just a passing storm, and this idea of a common European army seen from Georgia, is that just a pipe dream?
No. Why? Why is it a pipe dream? I think that European military standing together, well, within the NATO, you already are standing together. Now all capabilities are in line with each other. There is no major differences between the armies. I think all it needs is the strength and the structure put together, and understanding that there might be a moment in history when defense is just European, without American soldiers' foot on the ground. But I'm absolutely sure that if there is a threat to NATO security directly, obviously, war in Ukraine poses threat to NATO security, but I mean direct threat to NATO security. United States will be there as well to support the effort and to stand with its long-term allies, both the UK and the European Union.
Donald Trump dealing directly with Vladimir Putin. How is that seen in Georgia, where the prime minister is closer to the Kremlin than an opposition that's been protesting in the streets over the legislative elections recently?
Yeah, 102 days, Georgians are on the streets. Today will be 102nd day. Non-stop protests for the European Georgia, for Euro-Atlantic integration of Georgia. Unfortunately, for the first time, government and the people are split on this existential agenda for the survival of the country. We don't believe in direct negotiations with Vladimir Putin. That's been experienced for many countries, including this very country that we are in right now. In 2008, President Sarkozy negotiated peace for Georgia. We saw how it ended. Russian troops are standing on the soil of Georgia. 20% of the country is still under the occupation. Vladimir Putin eventually never signed. Well, actually, at that time, it was not Putin. It was a different president, but does not really matter. Eventually never signed the plan that Georgia president signed. So there were two different texts, and there was an understanding that at the end of it, once the actual fighting phase was over, things could have been negotiated. It did not work like that. Then we've seen Crimea. But before that, there was Budapest Memorandum, which was signed, guaranteed by all parties, including Russia, including the United States and other European nations. And still, Russia has a tendency of using the momentum, gaining strength, and then attacking another nation. That's what we've been telling to the whole world after 2008 war. That's what we've been warning the world after Crimea. Unfortunately, 2022 happened, and some countries were still saying that it was a surprise. We don't really understand why it was a surprise. Well, I hope President Trump can cut a deal with Russians different than anyone else was able to do it. Again,
you don't sound convinced.
We don't have faith that Vladimir Putin can keep his word, that there is any meaning in his word. But with the necessary security guarantees for Ukraine, and with strengthening Ukraine, and Europe standing with the Ukraine, let's hope for the deal to be beneficial. It cannot be on the it cannot be without territorial integrity of Ukraine. It cannot be without security guarantees for Ukraine.
You're a small nation, part of the former Soviet space, located on a major trade route that's always existed. You have Kazakhstan to one side, China, which has a port concession in Georgia. and of course Russia that we've been talking about. At this point in time, are people have less faith in Europe since January the 20th?
No.
And we can see on the map here, by the way, those important ports that you have on the Black Sea.
Yes, actual reality is that we have 3 major ports in Georgia. Well, actually, we have 4 ports in Georgia, 3 controlled by Georgian government today, and the first one in this stretched part, Abkhazia, occupied by Russia, where Russia is promising to build up a military naval base, the addition to the military bases that they already have. So that's seen by Russians as one of those leverages they can use against Europe for all the disturbing the trade routes if the middle corridor will actually materialize and gain the strength as it is seen on the drafts. So far, Batumi port is not controlled by Chinese. In Poti, there are very serious interests of Chinese. And Anaklia Deep Sea Port, which is the project under development, as it is promised by the sitting ruling party in Tbilisi, will be handed over to China beginning of April. This is one of the major things that we are fighting now against, that we are trying to convince the West, being it European Union, UK, United States, all the stakeholders, to use this momentum and not let Georgian government to hand the major strategic asset of Georgia to Chinese. Georgian government understands that they cannot just go blindly to Russia.
So do you feel, again, I get back to my question, when you look at that map and you see the context with Ukraine, with Russia, do you feel more isolated than before?
There are 2 sides to the story, right? We do feel more isolated because for the first time we have a sitting de facto government that nobody recognizes, and I hope it will continue like that, who is aligned with Russia, and because of that, all our insecurities are even stronger. But at the same time, with the support that people of Georgia are getting from European Union, UK, US, Canada, all the democracies in the world, at the same time, we feel that there is a way to survive and there is a way to get that support materialized in actual help to the people of Georgia. But obviously, we understand that first what we need to do is to do our homework and deal with our own problems back home.
Tina Khidasheli, that brings us back to my initial question, which was, is Emmanuel Macron employing the right method in speaking with everyone but the United States when he's sitting down with those chiefs of staff, or should he have included them in the room? Should they be in the room?
I think French President already had a meeting at the Oval Office. He spoke with the Americans. We know from media that there was further communication with Washington, and I hope that dialogue will never stop, because without the dialogue, without transatlantic dialogue, there is no security for Europe or for the world, for that matter. And I believe that people understand it in Washington the same way as we do in Europe and in the parts of the world that has been partially occupied by Russia over the years.
Why has the world changed suddenly so fast?
Well, we are told that now politics is transactional, and I guess that's kind of an answer we are given. But I think people have different visions, different understanding of the world, different understanding of how deals are done. When you have traditional sort of straightforward politicians in office, or when you have businessmen coming to the office, there are different approaches that I can understand. Most important part in it is that we don't lose the value system that United States or Europe was built on. Because if that is lost, then countries like mine have no way of survival.
When you see, on that score, when you see, for instance, Elon Musk blasting Romania's Supreme Court for stopping the Constitutional Council for stopping the candidacy of the far-right candidate what's your reaction?
Yeah, that's very much against what his whole ideology, as he tries to present it, stands for. When he speaks that he's against USAID or National Endowment for Democracy or any other NGOs for that matter, because allegedly, as he believes, they intervene in the affairs of foreign countries. well, the statements about the Romanian Constitutional Court is exactly interference in the affairs of a foreign country. I think Romanians are smart enough and strategic enough to deal with their own problems with their democracy, and they will find best solution for their country. And Elon Musk, whether he wants it or not, have to accept and recognize it. But I think these are temporary issues, temporary problems that the world is facing. On a bigger picture, the fate of the democracies and the world security, European security, will be decided in deals with Kiev, not with Moscow, not somewhere else, but with Kiev. Whatever makes Ukrainian people happy, secure, will be the best solution for the security in Europe.
Tina Khidasheli, thank you so much for being with us here on
much.
France 24.